All right, folks, we are back and welcome on back here for this Friday morning TGIF, this June 14th. Got our chat live on the stream here. We should have it in just a moment, though. Great to have all of our students at least here. We got Grant, Alex, Ray, Michael, had John just before, Abdul, had Bill, Leda, Margaret, Yehuda. Full house actually live inside our trading room. Great to have you there. Great to have all of us back on social media, though. Facebook Live, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, etc. May have a different layout, a different view on social media. We're working on our streaming platforms, all the cool techie stuff. So, hopefully by Monday, Fausto will be looking just like this here. You got the chat on the lower right. Got my ugly mug on the top right now. With that, let's hop right to it here. You have the LGVN trade here to begin. This is a stock not just from yesterday, a stock back from even Wednesday last week. So actually, let's recap this full move here first. This is a stock that ended up taking off like from under $1, ended up making like a 370% move as of yesterday, even a little bit more so today. So here we go. You can just see back from Wednesday, this current week, ended up making just a sudden pop right at 11 o'clock in the morning. Ended up building a little bit, took a while, and most of these trades do end up dumping back down, especially the more it goes up, big trees fall hard. And it could have happened right here too. This is like a 50%, 60% move even from this point. It pulled back, but thankfully heading into the 3 o'clock hour, much like we always talk about in our trading room, that's where you tend to see program trading kick in one last time. If not at 3, then at 3:30. Then from there, it ended up making that run into the close. But obviously, yesterday, it ended up making another big move. We took advantage of that. I'll show the level 4 in just a moment, the heat map program there for you. But at least for right now, just another big pop again in pre-market for LGVN. At this point now, it's making a bit of a lower high. I just wrote this in the chat board a little while ago here. I want to just highlight this, comment I made. It'll be inside our live trading room at least. I made this a little earlier here, so I'll try and catch it on recording here if I can. But it's just simple enough. LGVN, it made a big move already this week. It's tough to have it hold new support here. We'll see if it can, though, obviously. We've been proven wrong before. Stocks have continued to move up exponentially over time for us, even when we thought it would pull back. So, is it not worth our time to add LGVN to our watch list? No, it is worth our time. So we're gonna put this on our watch list to start things off. This is a great trade so far this week. If it ends up pulling back, then you probably write it off up until 10:30, 10:15, 10:30 at least, and then maybe even more. We'll see what happens. But LGVN, one of a couple trades that ended up running pretty well for us yesterday. Another one was this one here, ZAP. This is more, standard protocol though, because what makes the percent gainers list one day often does dump back down the next, makes the percent losers list the following. So, this stock here is ZAP. This got halted. How many times, guys? We've seen our chat board. So Abdul talk about it. I think Grant, Leda, Kathleen, a bunch of us just in our chat, like what, umpteen times, 17, 20 times on the way up and down collectively. All these little gaps on the intraday chart, on the 1 minute chart, you could just see that there. So this was much higher risk. It was also much lower float even than the LGVN. So it looks like it chopped into the afternoon a little bit there, but I wasn't too interested in it, especially after it made that false breakout off of like 275, 280-ish this is. It came back down. So that was pretty much game over at that point. This trade here, I'm not too particular for the morning on. There's going to be better trades, hopefully. I caught myself midway there. Hopefully there's going to be better trades. The reason I say it that way is because it is a Friday. It is a summer Friday. We are coming off the Fed meeting, slow earnings week, yada, yada, yada. So, that's where hopefully we can find better trades than ZAP. We'll see if LGVN can make another run. Actually, really quick, got ahead of myself there briefly. I want to show the heat map. I said that just before, the book map for LGVN. So let me just show that here quickly if I can. Yep, there we go. So just right now, it bounced off resistance at 359, a 21,000 share iceberg out there. Fausto and myself go over this all the time in our trading room, at least each and every morning, where, especially with this being out there as long as it was for about 30, 45 minutes ongoing, you would expect resistance to hold at first. Even if it breaks above it pretty quickly, then maybe resistance can flip. But this was just a very short-lived pop and drop at that. It just nipped above resistance, came right back down. That's not like a clean break at all to me. So, that's what we're looking at here on LGVN for the heat map. You got resistance up top at 4, lighter support down below at 3, only 22,000 shares sitting there. But, otherwise, hopefully this ends up making a better move later on. So, we had a couple more. We had the BTDR, obviously the large caps, the mega caps there, Apple, NVIDIA we'll get into. But yeah, let's go into this one here. I haven't really seen the stock before. BTDR, Bitdeer Technologies. I mean, the first letters in that name is BIT, right? BIT. Is this a Bitcoin stock? Is this like another miner? Is this like a digital asset type of company? Either way, stock ended up making a pretty good breakout heading into the early afternoon. Took off from like 850, 860 the price. I mean, clean $1.50 move up close to 10. Going into the afternoon, we did have resistance on the long-term chart, if not at 980, we said, then exactly at $10. It was just pretty much back in 2022, kind of right around here, right around that little area, back from 21, 22 area. Support broke below it, became resistance here on the weekly graph. And, hey, heading into the open, it's not really trading good volume, only 58,000 shares so far in pre-market. You don't really have much out there in the order book, so I'm definitely going to put this on the side list. Not going to be on the main list just yet, but we'll check in with it at some point, I'm sure. Alex, always looking forward to Alex's comments on Bitcoin, the miners in particular. He follows them pretty well. He says miner, AI, and HPC. I don't know what HPC means. So AI, obviously, and it's a miner as well. So is it both, Alex? It's both into mining, crypto, and AI, the stock? Pretty interesting. Either way, he says both. All right, there we go. Looking forward to my call with Alex coming up later on this morning. Now, we have NVIDIA, we have Apple. Let's get to those two, obviously. So I'm going to switch over to a 5-minute chart with that, just this whole week, NVIDIA, really. The thing is with the semiconductors, one thing I want to jump to, actually, SOXL. So who here in our live trading room follows or trades this year, the ETF, the chip ETF, SOXL? Let me know if you traded here. If you're Michael, Mark, Lee, if you've heard of it at the minimum, Chuck. Yeah. So with that, you could even see it on my long-term graph here. I still have the line showing, loosely speaking, at 49, even a little over 49, I can make that. But basically, it was holding it pretty nicely heading into 21, 22, broke below it. Resistance should become support, and it's had a tough time breaking that long term as resistance up until the end of May, and it was still shaking around it like no other. But finally, lift off. This has made a phenomenal move already, and I think with that in mind, you're going to find you've already found some great traction because of that break across the whole sector on NVIDIA, obviously. Sorry there. And, MU actually was a great beneficiary of that as well, just back on Tuesday, Wednesday this week, right when, SOXL took off. Perhaps you could attribute it to the CPI and the Fed, whatever it may be. Just specifically speaking, I know the chip sector, a lot of us look at, talk about. Well, this is very important to know. The only thing, though, that's shocking me a little bit here is that my lovely AMD, what's happening? Lisa Sue, what's happening out there? My lovely AMD trade is not following suit with the NVIDIA or the Micron trade at that. How about Intel? Intel, definitely not. Intel is much worse. We knew that at least. We knew that heading into the end of April into May. That's been very weak. Samsung AVGO also flew to support. Well, AVGO is a little bit different there, Sam. They actually announced yesterday, I think it was the stock split, right? 10-for-1 forward split. So, or 1 for 10, whatever you want to call it. So they actually had a nice pop in the after hours back on Wednesday. Obviously very expensive right now, but once they have that forward split, then we'll probably be more apt to trading the stock. But yeah, I mean, as far as at least like NVIDIA goes, I don't mind putting that back on our side list, at least for right now. And obviously Apple, with the news that came out earlier this week with their big event, all sorts of news. It wasn't just one. They enabled ChatGPT in all of their iPhones and Macs, like iOS altogether. There was a deal with loan company AFRM that came out also midweek in relation to Apple. So a whole bunch of stuff across this whole week on Apple. But the thing is, Fausto brought this up in our morning meeting, and he's been honestly bringing this up for the last month and a half at this point. You have to be asleep behind the wheel, falling, or living under a rock for you to not hear what Fausto's been talking about. And especially here, once this blasted above this resistance at 200, it made such a big run up, a lot higher than I thought, or a lot higher than I think most people thought Apple would make. For a stock to move up too much, too fast, it actually becomes a point where it will pull back on the swing. But if anything, at a minimum, if it doesn't pull back, like right away, it's just going to flatten out. It's going to exhaust. It's going to go sideways there. It's my example I bring up in class in our coaching program one-on-one. You run around the block for a little while. You run around your neighborhood for a little while. And then all of a sudden someone comes up to you and says hey, run around a little bit more, can you? you get a little tired, right? You get exhausted. It comes to a point where you can't. So Apple obviously still at all-time high territory, so to say. We're going to keep it on our side list, but I think just generally for as much as Apple ran up back on Tuesday, Wednesday this week, I think it's more exhausted now. All right, so that's all I had for you from yesterday. The LGVN on our list, BTDR on our side list. The mega caps, obviously, we're always following there and watching. And now at this point, what we'll do is go from top to bottom, see what we could add to our watch list here. I know the AIMD popped up pretty nicely earlier, the MBRX, ONMD. There were a few earlier, but here's the issue. They all dumped back down. Most of them, if anything, we'll check back in on a few more, but most of them already have dumped back down. So, pop, drop. Can we put this on our list? AIMD, maybe. I mean, maybe. It's trading 15 million shares on a 3 million share float. Seems pretty exhausted already. Gotta squeeze that water break in there somewhere. All right, so we keep going. CAPT at least. A little spotty on the graph, but it's up 15%, trading 71,000 shares. Looks like it's trying to make a recovery back from the end of May into June. I'm not too particular about it just yet. I mean, I want stocks to be trading over 100,000 shares really at this point in pre-market. So there's really not a whole lot actually out there that fits that shoe. So let's see, OnMed here, ONMD, BPTH, famous pop and drop stock, famous stock. Over my years has been a huge runner, a huge dumper. It is everything in between. So let's see. Yeah, and this is factoring in reverse stock splits. This did not go up to $1,400 per share back in 2019, but just factoring those reverse splits in, you could see that this stock has had obviously some steep pops, but right away it's pulled right back down shortly after, even this year. I'm sure some news came out back in September, late August of 21, pop and drop there. So history has a tendency to repeat itself, right? And look what happened here early in the morning. Right now it's flat. I could add it, but again, I could say that for a bunch of different trades. There's nothing that's looking too good so far. CRDL, if the order book fills in a little bit more on this, maybe. ZKH. Geez, that daily chart looks horrible. Bitfarms, BITF, at least a stock that we're familiar with. Even this is very flat now at this stage in the morning. What happened here? Was this an after hours pop, or it was like early in the morning pop, like crack of dawn? I'm still sleeping there. I got my REM sleep at that point. All right, UVIX. I mean, markets, I guess, pulling back a little bit right now into this morning. That's where you have UVIX, UVXY, these inverse ETFs going up. But I mean, that's just at least for the cheap stocks out there. Here's some of the more expensive stocks. I know Adobe posted good earnings overnight. If you do option calls on them, that could be worth your time maybe, but Shop up a little bit. They actually had a good day, back on, what was it, Wednesday this week, I think it was? Tuesday this week. Actually, they're trying to fill the gap. Look at that. They have a nice little gap fill there on Shopify. That could be a nice swing trade candidate there in due time there. Tesla. I mean, of course, we could add Tesla to our watch list here. I was disappointed yesterday where this ended up just dumping right away when the market opened up. And I tell you that because I still have my lines up from yesterday. These are all the lines I plotted on Tesla yesterday. It looks a little confusing, but nevertheless, it ended up head faking off the top, came back into it, broke below support later on. And then from there, this is where I got teased because it came down to a very good support level. I think this was the close from April, monthly close from April. And it was doing a good job building that support. And then just into the 3 o'clock hour, never broke over 185. And then in the after hours, that's when I think Elon and Tesla had that news or had that event that came out. I think they had some big shareholder meeting. I thought that was the day before. I guess they were alluding to that. Let me break open Benzinga Pro if I may here really quick. 1 second. Make sure we get that chat showing on our stream right now. All right, so what do we got here? Tesla after hours. What happened here with my guy Elon? Tesla shareholders approved his $56 billion pay package. Yeah, we thought that was the news. I guess that was speculated a day before. I guess I got misled by the speculated news report. This is official. This came out yesterday afternoon at 5:10. So here we go. I'll pop it up here for all of us. Tesla shareholders approved Elon Musk's $56 billion pay package, blah, 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 blah. All right, so a whole bunch of stuff happening there. And now we're getting a little bit better of a push. That's where I'm alluding to right now. It's not up that 5% or more heading into the open, but as far as some of the other large cap stocks, it's actually going against the grain so far in pre-market. So I'm going to add Tesla. And then if I add Tesla, I could add TSLL. That's the ETF that goes with it. It's actually up a little bit more percentage-wise because it's leveraged more. It's 2 times leveraged compared to the actual stock. So, it's cheaper. It's actually more volatile in that regard. So I'll add both. And then we'll hop over to the loser side here. If there's anything else looking good from the loser side here, folks, or rather both, gainers or losers. If you're Grant, Mark, Chuck, Alex, Lee, Sam, Skip, all of us in chat right now, let me know. That SAP trade we kind of went over already. Novavax down a little bit this morning. I don't know if there's any bad news that came out, maybe just profit taking and maybe just off that short squeeze we had. News came out, the COVID vaccine that they're producing had a phenomenal run off of that, really from 10 up to 22. It partly was because of a short squeeze, very shorted stock, and then it ended up dumping back down. So the question is, are we going to see long-term support build? Looking at the long-term chart, might take a little while, right? I mean, this ended up having a huge pop and drop back during COVID era, came back down. Maybe we could see this build support over time. If not from here, then maybe much lower. So perhaps this will continue to dump off throughout. If not today, then maybe next week at some point. I'm not going to put this on our list though. It's just a side list stock. I could add like 50 of these trades to our watch list. It doesn't do us any good. All right, so if there's anything else looking good, folks, on the way up, namely anything that is like strongly moving up, breaking out, really setting itself up for a nice move from your eye, let me know. Otherwise, I think that will just about be good to go. Skip says, take the day off. I'd say so as well, Skip. It's nice out here in Florida. When is it not? But really, no, it's to say at least if you finish up on the morning early, if it's 107 where you live, if you're Alex Poe in our trading room, if you made money already, I would finish up after 11 o'clock, after 10:30, whatever it may be, and start the weekend a little early. You know what I mean? So with that, at least we'll check Benzinga Pro scan one last time, and then we'll finish up at least. So just check the scanner section from here. Whoa, that's why we check the scanner section from here. What the hell is this? KAVL. I guess I would have seen it on the TradeStation one here if I looked close enough. It actually popped up there. But here we go. This is why we scan one last time. So obviously we got to add this KAVL. What the hell happened here? Up 166%. Really quick, just check our chat right now on YouTube. There we go, from Doug right now, joining us live on YouTube. Absolutely. So I don't have any news, at least yet, on this. I'll update in probably a minute or two, I'd imagine, from Benzinga. But whenever it comes out, we'll post it. Obviously, something good obviously came out. For this to be up now near 200%, it's obviously a short squeeze factored in as well. Looks like the stock also took off back during COVID time too. Wasn't really a $900 stock back then, though. I do remember the ticker. It was like probably reverse stock split factored in. But man, this thing is flying Brian right now. Holy smokes, this thing is going. So we don't really have a great long-term level to work with here. I mean, if anything, maybe right around there. What the hell? It's like $9, $8.96. It broke below this as support on the weekly graph. It did test it as resistance already. So, I don't know if we'll get that high again. Let me actually load up level 4 before we finish up. We got about 10 minutes to go. So really quick, if you're on social media, Facebook Live, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, etc., follow us at CyberTradingU. That should be popping up on the top right, as well as a QR code. If you're interested in continuing the audio commentary, Fausto will be back, at least by the time the market opens up for all of our students. I'll be back on myself as well. But audio broadcast each and every weekday, Monday to Friday. Scan that QR code just on the top right if you want to join. But with that there, I mean, look what we have here on the heat map. There was an order, not big, but it was at like 309 out there on the order book. I would not expect that to be support right away because it's only 5,000 shares. There's not much out there altogether on the bid. There's actually less out there now compared to even before. So obviously at this point, I'm going to stay away from this trade going into the open. I'm not going to trade this stock before the opening bell, but we'll react to it accordingly at that point. Can it build new support? Is it just going to dump right back down and that's it? So for the time being, we're going to put this on our list. We'll find out more about the news, why the stock is moving right now at its time. But Fausto even covered this in his webinar just yesterday, right? We have a bunch of new trial members joining us here as this pops up more. Quick little tidbit of the day. Stocks can't get halted off of volatility in pre-market. Only after the market open they can. But Fausto was commenting on this so much yesterday. Stocks don't go up and down because of news. I mean, like, that could be the initial reason why it makes the pop. But if this wants to continue, it's not because of whatever wordy headline came out. It's because of buyers and sellers. It's because we're going to see more buyers step in on the order book. We're going to see more buyers blast through the orders that are out there currently on the ask, the sellers out there. If the buyers continue to do that, this will move up. If it stops doing that, this is going to fall quick. So that's where we have to be very mindful of watching level 3 and level 4 on this trade. So there we go. One of our longtime students, Skip, he knows best here. He says KAVL, very volatile. Absolutely, Skip. Couldn't agree more. Folks, we're going to finish up our broadcast, at least for right now. We got 4 stocks to work with. I mean, really 3 if you're factoring in Tesla and the ETF. Really 3 stocks to work with going into the market open. Start and stick with this list, please. I mean, really, this is as good of a list as we've kind of scrunched up here so far. Jith asking about OnMed. Again, it popped and dropped here already. I mean, if it ends up going once more after the open, we'll call it out from there. But this just looks like casino stock to me. Same with KAVL, but the difference between KAVL and the other is that this for now is popping, right? We know this is going to pull back at some point. Question is it going to make that higher high later on? With the ONMD trade, it just again made a lower high and came back down. It's dumping here. So right now we're going to pass. If it ends up showing more life after the open, after the first 15 minutes at least, call it out then. But stick with KAVL, stick with LGVN, stick with Tesla. That's what I'm doing here. I'd suggest for everyone else to follow suit at least to begin. Last from Skip, asking Grant actually on this. Grant will give you more details, Skip, there, I'm sure. But SLV, I forgot about silver. In terms of like a swing, right? We've been talking so much about just NVIDIA, Apple this week. I totally forgot that we've had silver on our radar from the last month or two. And, it's still holding at least long-term, or it's trying to, it's trying to hold, long-term resistance into support. It'll probably take a little bit longer for that to materialize, but that's a good little heads up, Skip. I'm going to write this down at least so I don't forget throughout my day, throughout next week, if anything, as we come back. All right, but with that in mind, folks, 4 stocks to work with going into the morning. Best of luck trading here. We'll be back on at 9:30 shortly afterwards. So again, if you're on social media, definitely make sure to scan that QR code coming up and join us for a bit. And otherwise, hey, best of luck going into the open. Happy weekend to all. If you're not sticking with us here throughout the morning, throughout the afternoon, if you're dipping out early,